Alright, this is part 2 of the CROSLEY 817 radio. I got the chassis pretty well cleaned up. I did most of that off camera. Not going to be able to do anything with this. Even though it just winds down around here. But nonetheless, there's no way I'm going to be able to get in there to string it anyways. I think everybody knows by now that's something I'm not able to do. Very few guys can string a dial cord. There are some that can do it. Hello there, Ron. I can't understand why anybody would love that job. That is the worst job of any radio. It's worse than working on a crowded chassis. We got a little stubby dial light. We got to check the bulb and find out what kind it is. I got the schematic. I want to thank one of my viewers. I can't remember everybody. I apologize if I don't get your name in there, but somebody gave me the link to the schematic, or the a service manual, I guess it is. And I've got it. I think it's from Nostalgia. I've got it. I downloaded it. I'm not able to print out because I don't have any ink for my printer, but that's my problem, not anyone else's. So, anyways, let's get a close look underneath the chassis here. What I might do right now, as I said before in the past, if no one's touched the radio, the capacitors are replaced value for value, with the exception of anything that's been replaced in the past, in which case you want to double check the schematic to make sure it's done right with the right parts. Oh man, I'll tell you, talk about a hack job. Yep, so at this time we're going to leave this alone because I'm going to have to go in the house, get the schematic on the computer, and draw it out quickly on a piece of paper, bring it in here, and work from that. I just want to make sure it was done right. As you can see what I'm pointing to here, these are original, so that I have no problem looking up the value, reading the value, which right now I can't tell. I have to get my magnifier out and turn it around. So capacitors like that, and this one here, and as you can see, this one hasn't been touched either. Neither has this, so they will be replaced with value for value, so there's not a problem with that. This, no. So the electrolytics at this time will not be touched right away, but that's going to definitely be done before this will even be powered up. And I got one here. It looks like that's a coil down there, okay. And we got one down here, over here. So it's not all that bad, and we'll do that off camera, of course. Now down here, I noticed that when I turned the radio over, if I can get this light to cooperate here, see where my finger is? Right there where I'm pointing to? Very, very, very thin wire. See that? That's still connected. Leastwise, I think it is, or did it break off? I think it broke off. It was connected up under there. Oh, great. It's one of those flexible resistors, I guess. That's what's left of it. I can get into camera here and stop being off camera so much. Well, no, it's still connected. See it down there? Now I'm doing this for my own reference too. It's connected, and I think it's connected to one of the audio output tubes, so it could be a cathode bias resistor. Regardless, we're going to replace it with a wire wound. Estimating probably 5 watts should be more than enough. But we got to look that up on the schematic. We got to go in there, but we're going to get rid of some of these caps so we'll have a little more room. You see they're hanging in midair. I think that's just the way they wired it years ago. Because the wires go way up into here, right where I'm pointing. Okay? So, that's the way they did it, and that's original, so I'm going to replace it and do it the same way. But I'm not going to do this like that. No, but this work is original, so I have no problem putting it like they did. Nothing wrong with that. We just, if we can get the capacitor lead, if it's not too hard to get in here, I can. If not, we just hook and pinch, put a piece of heat shrink over it, and connect it down to here. Yeah, but this here is part of probably the cathode bias resistor. My guess. I have to go in on the computer and look at the schematic. So what we're going to do right now is we're just going to replace some caps as I go along. I noticed there appears to be a plate on the chassis. The way this is made, take these two out, take this screw out, 1/4 inch. This lifts up, and I think it's because it's a tight area in there. And yes, so that's the first thing I'm going to do, is to remove that so we can get in there. We'll do that now. Okay, yes. Now, these are all original, so I'll have no problem replacing those. And I think it's a good design, that way you can get into it, because the rest of the chassis is more open, and I should be able to do something. Ideally, I should deal with this too while I'm in here, but what I'm going to concentrate on is getting rid of these caps and putting the new ones in, and going in the house and looking on the computer after I find out what pin this former flexible resistor lead went to. And I'll do that before I continue on with this. Now, this is the 80 up here. So obviously this is going to be the input filter, which used to be up here. That wire resistor comes off of pin 8 of the 6K6 and goes to ground right here where this mica mold cap is. So let's look at the tube manual for the 6K6. This is the basing for the 6K6 tube, and it's on pin 8, as close as I can read in the viewfinder of my camera here. It looks like pin 8 is the cathode, and yeah, and 2 and 7 of the filament. So it's a cathode resistor. So that'll make it easy. I'll just peek on the schematic and see what the value is of that. And we'll find a resistor to go in there. Pays to have a tube manual. This was a 1947 RCA that I got a few years ago off of eBay. So once again, we got a pointer now instead of using my fingers. That's what we're going to do. It's pin 8 of the K6 audio output tube. So that's one thing we're going to do right now when we go in. And then we're going to, of course, we got to find out what wattage it is. I don't know. Judging from this wire size here, which you can see you can see the coil of it. Let me get my hand up in there so it might focus better that way. Judging from that gauge wire, I would say it's probably not even a 5 watt. And if you look closely, like I did, see this stub right here? Right there? That's the base of the flexible resistor, and the other part of it is right here. The stub is down here, so that's the end of it. That's the first time I've ever seen one of them flex resistors in that condition. Usually those things are all right, and what few radios I've worked on in the years. All right, so we got to charge this battery on this camera, as always, so I'll be back. All right. This terminal I cleaned off. I had to cut it off. I tried unsoldering it, it wouldn't come off. The stub from the flex resistor. I found out it's a 375 ohm flex resistor, 2 watt, I believe. I don't have anything like that. All my resistors of those values would be half watt. You know, I don't have it. This is the other end of it. I tinned it right here so I can tack it on there. I disconnected this from here. Upon close inspection, up in here, these wires are original. They're twisted off the volume control. The lighting isn't too good. I have to go and get a light. I don't have it handy right now. Use a flashlight. You can see the terminals right there, the 3 terminals on the volume control, and they're twisted right here. And I'll have to get my finger out. Here's my finger. Anyways, this is where it was tacked in. That's original. So what I'm going to do is when I put the new cap in, it's just going to go right back on here like this one. But right now we'll just leave that like that. Because I gotta get a resistor. It's holding me up. I look through my resistor stash. I have no resistors that I can combine to get that value, because they're all low wattage resistors. I'd have a big stack of half watt resistors in a big ugly clump. I'm not going to do that. The biggest resistors I have, other than huge wire wounds, are 2 watters, and they're all into the 1,000 ohms. They're nothing low value in the stash I got. I got a bunch of resistors from Sal's in the floor sweepings, but those were high value. I didn't go through all of them. It would take me a month to test them all. So I went through quite a few. So that's it. I managed to get a better schematic. Was able to read it it's a little bit clearer rather than the one I had before. And we're going to do something with this. So right now I think we'll concentrate on the caps. Well, a couple hours later here. Now this is the way they had it. They had it just like this. Tacked in. That's the way they had it. And this was probably from the electrolytic here. But these capacitors, like, look how they do this here. That's original. See, they just put it on there and it's freestanding. So I don't feel so bad when I do something like this, because this is the way they had it. That's original wiring. I have not tested this yet. I'm replacing caps as I go. This was the hardest because it kept popping off the chassis here. I don't solder to chassis. I'm very, very bad at that. But there was no little pigtail left. I tried to leave a pigtail on it. I couldn't do it. So I couldn't hook and pinch. So I had to get my soldering gun out, and even so, it still popped off. So we got it. So we got 4 caps in here so far. That's all we're going to do tonight on this, but it's not the end of part 2. It's just the end of what I'm doing today. We'll see you later on. All right, we're going to finish up on part 2 of the CROSLEY 817 radio here. I replaced all the caps. Well, not all of them. We've still got... the mic is all right. You see, as I said, this is the way they've done it. Now, over here, this is the way the original one was. I've showed that earlier in the video. And so I simply did the same thing with spaghetti tubing and heat shrink and just put it out. This goes to the volume control, and these are twisted together here. I had an awful hard time getting this capacitor in down here. Really hard time. I hook and pinch, and thank goodness to be able to do that, because there's no way you can do that. Like this one here, this goes way up under here. There's no physical way you can get in there. Now, without pulling the band switch, I won't do that. I'll ruin the radio for sure. So I simply, the wire came out to here, I cut it, hooked and pinched, and connected here the same way here so we don't overheat the terminal on the coil. I haven't checked out any of the coils yet. And of course, as you can see, I have not replaced the electrolytics yet. One of the electrolytics goes to chassis, and the other goes to the center tap of the power transformer, which also goes to the speaker plug, which is right here, I think. I'm looking at it from the inside. So anyways, it sure makes it easier to get this little piece of chassis unbolted here so I can work in here. I have a lot of resistors to check yet. These dog bones have gone up, way up in value. And from this schematic, I think they're only 1 watt. They look very large. You know, I'm going to say they're about 2.5 inches long, at least 2 inches anyways. And they're only 1 watt. I'm having a hell of a time getting a 475 ohm resistor to replace that flex resistor, which I removed and tinned the areas where I got to put it in. I looked in my resistor box. I spent a very long time looking through, and I just don't have it. So the only thing I have is a 1/2 watt. It calls for 1. I may have to put a 1/2 watt in there because I have nothing else. I don't have any resistors that I can combine them to make them that way. I have hundreds of resistors, and I don't have anything near 375 ohms. So that's what it calls for the cathode resistor for both 6K6 audio output tubes. So it calls for that, but I don't have it. So I would hate to order one lousy resistor on eBay and wait a hell of a long time for it to come in. Got a lot more to do on this radio. So we're going to end part 2. We'll get this together and see, for those of you who love the electronic videos, we will get it out to you. I am not sure what these are. They could be capacitors. I've never seen anything like that. Let me get the light on here. The problem is that using a flashlight, it washes the video right out completely. You see that stubby, what looks like a cap in there? Well, I'm not going to be able to get that. That's physically impossible. They have the electrolytic twist tied around it, and that's the ground end. It goes to the chassis. But that's not my work. But that's probably the only exception. I'm not going to be able to get that out. I don't know what it is. There's writing on the side. But I can't see it. But it's the only capacitor in here other than the micas. I'm assuming that this is probably not a genuine mica. It's probably a mica mold, and those type are prone to fail. I have no idea what it is, what function it serves. I gotta look. If it's for the phono, I wouldn't even worry about it, because we're not going to use that feature. So just give you a little look around here. It was a little difficult for me to get at some of the places, but I think we managed okay. But we got a lot of resistors here, dog bones type resistors, as you can see, and they are most likely have gone up in value. So I think we're going to end this video. This is going to conclude part number 2 of the CROSLEY 817 radio. I have not tested the tubes. I'll do that after I get the restoration done underneath the chassis. So I'm just working on it on my spare time here and there, in between other things. And that's it. So thanks for watching.